Check. Check.
Hello.
Hey, welcome to Vibe Osmosis. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing alright today. First off, I'll let you introduce yourself this time around.
Okay. I'm Dash Rodriguez. I'm a musician, recording artist in Washington, D.C. And yeah, that's basically it right now.
What's your astrological sign?
I'm a Virgo.
Do you actually follow astrology? Is it something that you believe in or anything?
Well, I do a little bit. I think when there's something positive to be said that relates to my astrological sign, I believe in it.
Definitely feel you there. Do you have a favorite color?
A favorite what
Favorite color?
color?
Yeah.
Yeah, green.
Why does the color green resonate with you?
Um, I think it's because when I was a kid, I I don't know, I really liked frogs. I had like a frog obsession, and most of the time you're looking at, green frogs and toads and stuff, and there's some definitely some wild neon colored ones, but yeah, that and when I, coloring with crayons and stuff, my favorite color was the green crayon.
No, I've been checking out your music for a little bit now, since I got to see the stuff on the Red Fred stream, and I kind of wondered a little bit about how you came across the Red Fred, or how the Red Fred came across you to get up on the stream, and a little bit more about how long you've been making music and stuff.
Yeah, sure. So I know Alex Jin from Asheville, because my partner Colleen uh, introduced us, I guess, sort of late when we were leaving Asheville. We were having this big um, sort of, I guess, sale. Like we were just selling all of our stuff, and Alex Jin joined in. And then actually, I ended up buying Alex's old car, and so that's that connection to Red Fred. And just I actually at the time didn't realize that Alex was making really really cool music with her partner and doing all these really insane streaming things on Twitch. And so I saw that she had announced the Red Fred um, Fred Fest thing, and I just reached out and asked if I could take part in it because I had been working on this sort of solo act live, and it was just there enough to be able to do a performance of three songs.
I
Yeah.
didn't even say it was enough for myself, but I really enjoyed your set, and then made me tune into what you had been recording, and I don't know, I just was like, all right, I have to
Yeah.
keep a lookout, I guess, in all ways, and and there's some songs of yours where I was like kind of wondering. How did you manifest getting like all of this craziness into the sound with this like sort of energy, but also kicked back feel, like where's some of your magic coming from?
Right. By the way, I'll say that I really enjoyed your performance on Fred Fest too. I thought it was really, really something else. Your just like the effects and things you had on your camera and just the performance overall, I thought was really, really sick. Um, yeah. So where do I get? Yeah, wrapping the energy into it. So I'm a big Tobacco and Black Moth Super Rainbow fan. I yeah, I'm a huge, huge fan of Tom Feck and just that that aesthetic to music. And I think he has done a really good job of kind of sewing in chaos and laid backness and stuff into his music, either in the same song or just track to track. It could be either really abrasive and nuts to being really just a smooth, almost like sleepy kind of melody or something. So I draw a lot of inspiration from whatever Tom Peck is doing.
That's really
And
interesting that you bring up. I was no joke. Have you ever heard of Midpoint Festival, the music festival up here in Cincinnati?
no, I haven't.
Tobacco came through way back when, and I was actually going to be playing that festival.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, I was in my it was in my younger days, and I had just submitted, and they were like, yeah, all you have to do is just sell like 150 tickets, and yeah, you can have the slot. And I remember like some of the acts that were playing there was really nice bands, just like randomly coming to this a random area in Cincinnati, Ohio. But just kind of flashback because before that I didn't ever know about their music and made me check it out, and I was like, okay, well, I'm now tuned in.
Nice, nice. Um, so I've been, I got my first bass guitar when I was about 12 years old. My dad got, I don't know where he got it, but it was a Dean Hollywood Z. It was blue. And and when I was going into middle school and getting into the music programs there, it was, I stuck with, I jumped on cello because it's the same clef as the bass. And then there was the opportunity to move to the upright bass, to actually be, have the same strings and everything. And yeah, from there, just kept up with the music programs in school. And when I was about 16 or 17, my dad got he found like this Tascam 424 multi-track at a Goodwill for like $10. And I didn't touch it for a really long time. I didn't really know how to use it. And I kind of I didn't understand why he got it for me just kind of randomly. But around that same time, I also got my first DAW, because my buddy who was, he was trying to get some stuff, like he was a rapper, so he had some like instrumentals, and he wanted some help with that, and so I kind of helped with the investment. And so that kind of realized like, oh, like it's kind of fun to sit here and smoke a little bit and like record some weird stuff. And then I really started incorporating the tape machine, because there was something, there's like a draw to all the actual knobs and stuff you can turn and manipulate. And just, the warmth of the cassette was kind of interesting too. And so I started really writing and recording 17 years old, and really put stuff out when I was 18 or 19, I think. Yeah. So ever since,
Did you keep the
sorry, go
early
ahead.
workout? Sorry.
What was the question?
Did you keep that early workout?
Yeah. So a lot of the early stuff is gone because the laptop crashed. And so I don't even have 2% of the things I think I recorded when I was younger, which is unfortunate, because I wish I could go back and listen to that stuff and just kind of remember where I was in my life or what I was feeling, and just what maybe if I could hear different influences in what I was trying to make. But yeah.
I wonder, did you have a favorite movie?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I have lots of favorite movies, I think. um, yeah, I really like really cheesy 80s horror films. Like Demoni is this Italian 80s horror film that is just so fantastic. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out.
I might have
Yeah,
missed
but
one for sure.
yeah,
Give us some context. I may have actually seen this one.
yeah. So it's kind of strange, but it's like these two women are going to this movie theater to see this movie, and there's kind of like this creepy. I can't give away too much, but there's this sort of artifact there that somebody accidentally touches, and then it kind of turns into sort of a like a
No, I totally
zombie
know.
event inside
Yes,
the movie theater.
it is. It is epic. It's also one of those. It's one of those. There's a certain word I want to say Quentin Tarantino used when it is like a runner zombie. Like it's one of those ones where before they didn't actually like run and try to get at you.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I know that one, but
Did you have any favorite directors you want to shout out?
ooh, gosh, I wasn't prepared for that question. Um, do I know any directors by name? I mean, uh, obviously Tarantino. You just said Tarantino. But yeah, no, I can't really think of any directors right now. The guy that made Gumby, he was pretty fucking cool. Um, yeah. What? Um, Speaking of that, oh Zappa. Zappa was a movie director. I'll shout out Zappa.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I've been a fan for a while. Did you have a favorite instrument? I know you mentioned bass, and I know you're a killer on it, but was that always your love?
uh, yeah, I think so because it's definitely stuck with me the longest. But if I have to choose a favorite instrument, it's definitely the pedal steel. I love country music, and I find the pedal steel to be so interesting and complex. My buddy Landon lent me his pedal steel not too long ago, and I have no idea how to play it. Uh, but it's still such an interesting sound, and you can kind of just. I was plugging in some like delays and reverbs into it. I'm just kind of noodling around, and it sounds super super cool.
I remember, I know um, my brother-in-law, Dirk, who passed, he had a band, and his friend Steven, used to rock one as well. And I remember
Oh, nice.
he let old Dirk get to play for like a solo set, and that was kind of the first times where I was like, okay, like you can actually use this with like, right, like reverbs and like plugging it into like a loud Fender amp and like adjusting it to your sound, as well as like nailing. I feel like he's essential blues country esque type player too, so like it kind of nailed it for him and sound wise. Did you have
Nice.
did you have any artists growing up that you like had like a big influence on outside?
Yeah, like outside of like tobacco. Yeah. So, Zappa definitely. Peaches and Regalia. Hot Rats, that album. So Zappa and Captain Beefheart, I was really into growing up. And everyone has like different phases as they kind of get through middle school and high school. So I mean, like there was the scene kid emo phase where there was like My Chemical Romance and AFI I was listening to a lot, and stuff like that. And then kind of getting into high school, like my horizons kind of broadened a bit, and there's this band Polisa that my sisters first kind of heard of, and I think maybe I was like a sophomore in high school when I first heard a Polisa song, and I thought that was really interesting.
Oh, you're gonna
And
have to link me with a track you recommend of theirs for sure.
Smut is a good track. Um, Vegas is a great track. Um, yeah, uh, I'm trying to think of the other ones right now. But they have a couple albums on Spotify, and or wherever you get your streaming, I'm sure. But I would recommend just digging through all of those. Just extremely talented group of people, and it's an interesting setup. They've got the vocalist, the bassist, and two drummers. And when I saw them perform, it was actually electronic drum kits, and it was a wild performance.
Speaking of performances, has there been any band that you've seen live that you thought was really great?
Oh yeah. So my like seeing rise from like the beginning of their sort of career to like where they are now. Yeah, I have a couple. So back in Asheville, I used to play in a group called Death Beat. Yeah, it was me, my friend Guthrie, who played the synths. I was on bass, and Jackson Scott, who is actually like an alt rock psychedelic kind of artist, who had already been. I think he was on Wharfcat at the time, and so he was in the unit, and then the vocalist, the lead was Lucci Davis, and Lucci Davis has actually had a pretty explosive growth over the last year and a half, or maybe two, where she's just, she's starting to book festivals and getting a lot of praise from Iggy Pop. Actually gave her a shout out not too long ago for a track. I think it was Ash and Dust. And yeah, so that, seeing Lucci kind of glow up like that has been super impressive. And then the second one is Wednesday. Carly Hartzman was a friend of Colleen and myself. I mean, sort of not so much me. I think I knew Carly mostly because of the drummer Alan and Colleen. But they, they started off really small in Asheville, and now they're doing really, really great. Yeah, so there's just seeing that whole unit kind of get bigger and bigger has been super inspiring, and I just love seeing that they're selling out places and getting high praise on Stereo Gum and Pitchfork and all that.
I want to bring up, like, you put out, like, what is it? Is it one album or is it two albums this past year?
So I haven't I put out one album this past year. It was, yeah, almost a year ago today, actually, or maybe not so much, but it was about a year ago. And that was just sort of
is that the Dirty
sorry,
Bits? Is that the
yeah, the
Dirty?
Dirty
Okay.
Bits too. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Now, all right. So the last thing that I've seen out of yours, like, expand on that.
Oh, the last song that I've published. All right. Yeah. Yeah. That's Phone It In, and that is part of the newer sound that I'm going for. I've just been trying to do cleaner recordings and maybe more poppy structured songs that are, I guess, easier to follow, a little less avant-garde maybe. Yeah, so that is just, I thought when I posted that, maybe the best example of how I'm using the newer technology I've acquired to kind of create music and put songs together. And it was a challenge, and I don't know if you remember from the Fred Fest video, but I was not playing and singing at the same time, and that's because I could not play and sing at the same time for this song. But I've actually got it down where I can perform and play at the same time now. So that's kind of that's a big deal for me, just because it's been a goal for a while, and I just kind of had to sit with the drum machine and just kind of dial back the tempo until I could kind of get the groove, and I've finally worked it up to the regular tempo. So yeah, I mean, it's just the song is pretty bare bones. It's got a bass, a drum machine, arpeggiating synthesizer, and a guitar sample that kind of shoots off here and there, like during the chorus.
I definitely want to bring up the stuff in the dirty bits that I've listened to. What was that recording process like? Did you do it in a studio? Did you like get to go in a space and get really loud, or do you have a space where you're loud?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a space where I can be super loud. I recorded that in my small apartment in the bedroom.
It
I
has
did
a
most of
really
it
good
on the
live, like loud feel to it whenever I hear that one.
yeah, yeah. I was definitely, so the whole thing was, it's supposed to be just like experiments that was just kind of running into the same tape deck that my dad got me over a decade earlier. It's the same tape deck. Um, yeah, so it's cruising right now. So I was just kind of we just got sort of settled into this space. We had been in DC for, I don't know, 6-ish months, and I felt like I hadn't really been able to do a lot of creative music stuff for a while. So all those are just kind of things that I had been uh, kind of pulling together sort of week by week, and not really worrying so much about having concise song structure, just kind of doing sort of a studio improvisation every time I wanted to record something. So I, just kind of was plugging into the tape deck, just kind of just going for it. And yeah, I mean, the only thing on there that isn't from my DC era, I guess, is there's one song, and its abbreviation is self-contained and fairly explanatory. And that song is actually one of those survivor tracks from my old laptop that I mentioned that crashed and I lost all that work. And so I found that on a USB, uh, like a thumb drive, and I felt like it fit the vibe, so I put that on there too. It's like from 2016, I think.
I can relate with you on the whole crashed computer. I have one crashed Mac right now that has all of the music that I recorded and like the studios in different places from like whenever I was traveling in Miami and like Seattle. So I was just like really hoping to not touch it and get everything back out of it whenever I don't know, make the right investment into restoring it, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can at least get those songs back. I know there's like projects on like a torrented Logic where, you're never probably gonna get those audio files back.
Yeah, that's a shame. I'm actually so paranoid about it happening again. I do regular backups.
I got really, really high one time, and I went to my friend's place in Athens because he was going to school there. And I bought my iPad where I just happened to record like so much new good music on that my dad gave me. And I remember it had like a lot of fancy apps on it. I had like the Quirky oscillator, Garage
Tight.
Band, and like I had the little rig so you could plug in your guitar and like actually like get some songs in there. And I just happened to get really stoned and put it on top of my car. And I was loading in all the rest of my music gear, and I left the iPad on top of my car.
Oh no.
Never to be found again. I wept for a long time for sure about that one.
It's tragic, man.
I guess that would cover one of my next questions. Did you have any fears? And yes, losing your music is a big one.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
did you
That's
have,
personal feel.
yeah, did you have any random facts that you'd like to share?
Oh, like what about? Just like anything?
Anything.
Oh my God. Um, yeah. Gosh, anything in the world, a random fact? Oh, I learned that Ringo's net worth is like $350 million. I saw that in a meme. So that was interesting. Ringo, I didn't know he was doing so well for himself.
He should be doing well
Um,
for himself.
so I guess that's pretty good for Ringo.
He's touching kids'
Um,
hearts and old men's hearts today.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I wish I had better facts, I mean, uh, I don't know. I actually, yeah, I know a lot about record pressing. Um, that
Is that
is a
something that you
thing.
do?
Um, Go ahead.
Is that something that you do, record pressing, or is that something you just looked into?
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I should have said this when I introduced myself actually, but I'm a record press mechanic. So I fix record presses at Furnace Records in Alexandria. Uh, and so yeah, I could probably tell you just about anything about pressing PVC to make a record.
Well,
Um,
I've wondered about getting vinyl myself. Like, are you able to cut
mm.
me a deal?
What was the last part? I'm sorry, I'm at this cabin way up
Oh,
in the sticks in
oh,
Virginia, so my signal is so shoddy right now.
that's
Go ahead and
funny.
repeat that last part.
Like, do you like actually make vinyl? Like, have you ever made yourself a record or like got yourself a test
Uh,
press?
no, because we're kind of at that point where a lot of the clients are they kind of dominate what we're pressing right now. So unfortunately, it's kind of left like smaller bands to be uh, put a little farther back on the waiting list, which is not it's not great. But I've always wanted to have some of my work put on vinyl, but that does take a bit of capital to start up. You got to get somebody who can master it to be put on vinyl, and then there's just the upfront cost of getting how many records do you want pressed, and there's a minimum that places will usually take on. So yeah, unless you've got some cash, it's kind of hard to do,
Well,
which is a shame because it's like it's such a it's like it's really big right now, and bands and artists need that for their merchandise.
true, it did used to be cheaper and easier. I have seen from my friends that do like the independent thing, from like doing the small test pressings and then trying to get like a limited, the most limited 500 or 100 or something, and even that's still pricey, I guess, if you're really thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I got nothing against it because I think I would cut myself as many records as possible and just give them out for free, even though I invested the money in it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you got a vinyl player, you're interested? Give Crypto Terrestrial Tour a ride.
Hell yeah.
Only for the first 150 free fans, you know what I mean? Like, you only gotta wrap it up for so long, and then after that, you're like, alright, guys, I gave out enough free copies.
Yes.
Have you ever recorded in the studio personally?
No, and I've always wanted to. I wanted to do. I don't. I've just seen what it looks like in these really nice studios, and I've always wanted to record in a in a professional space. My friends. So I'm in this band, Static Spray, right now in DC, and the the guys that I play with. They have a very nice um, home studio set up um, with some really, really good gear and the space. They've done an excellent job sound treating it. And we're recording some demos right now, and the sound is actually pretty good. So it's not professional, but it's the closest I've gotten.
I just recently talked to Gary Wilson, as you might know, right? And
Yes,
and
that's
Gary
so
Wilson
cool.
Gary Wilson brought up to me, even if it's in your bedroom and if it's what you have, then like record what you have, and like that really really struck like on a nerve of inspiration of like no matter what you have, kind of just go for it because like that's what you got in a way.
Yeah,
And the biggest way for him, he stapled in what was gonna like define how I don't know, progressive his music was going to be, in a way. Whenever I listen to some of your music, I hear a lot of the different inspirations and influences from bands that I feel like I could be projecting on. But did you feel like that kind of happened naturally, or did you like listen to some bands and you were like, okay, I think I can like, I don't know, capture my own vibe on this take, you know?
Yeah, I mean, are you just essentially asking when I start to record, am I like actively gonna try and sound like somebody, or is yeah, totally. Yeah, that period when I was young, with that cassette, uh, that multi-track, that's sort of like when I started, um, like I I guess it was kind of more in college. I started listening more to like Ariel Pink and Neon Indian and stuff like that. And so then I would have moments where I wanted to see how close I could replicate this bass synthesizer sound or this guitar sound, or I would do things that would uh, I would be intentionally trying to copy a sound and just see how close I could get. Uh, so yeah, definitely.
And your own way of mastering like the sound that you're going for, did that kind of happen by like thinking, okay, I've written out these songs, or did you have like certain themes that you were going for?
Um, so I think so. I think it's mostly influenced by the tech, like the technology I have, the synthesizers. So I'm working with a drum machine, a synthesizer, and a sampler. It's sort of like the core unit of what I'm doing. Bass usually comes last, and the other layers usually come after that. So I think it's just, yeah, I just, when I'm writing stuff, I kind of don't have um a strategy in mind. I listened to this thing one time, and I found it through a meme page. I don't know if you like uh follow. I don't know. There's this meme page. His name is or the handle is Lamine Young,
I don't
and
think so.
he's like a music guy, and he shares funny things, but he's also very intentional about spreading the message of doing you when you make your own music. And one thing he shared one time was this thing by Brian Eno, where he was giving a lecture at a college, and he started talking about um, uh, just the art of studio improvisation. And the whole point is that it's just really important to kind of go into a studio without a plan sometimes, and all you're doing is you're just recording things for however long. You could have something that strings along for 60 minutes, and then maybe you have like a couple seconds or a couple minutes in there where you're like, oh, that's a cool idea. You can take that and kind of expand on it. So every time that I write nowadays, which is different from when I was younger, is I just kind of set up and I start turning things on. Maybe I'll start with a beat, or maybe I'll start with making a new patch on the synthesizer, or maybe I'll have an idea of, let's run this into the tape, bounce it back into the sampler, loop the sampler, things like that, and just kind of see what happens. And I think when you do that a lot, you'll have a lot of recordings on hand, but you use a very small percentage of them most of the time. In my experience, like you have just like a couple diamonds in the mix of like all these long sort of recordings that you've made of just random improvising.
I like to say
And
they're
that
all good, you know. That's why I keep on recording, keep on pushing, and release it. I want to bring up one point. Like, I'm not a big Tame Impala fan, but I have heard
mhm.
about the whole. They have like an entire album, demo album on their iPod. and they like lost their iPod or something, and at the time they just wish that they put out those demos from their iPod. Have you
Yeah.
ever done anything like that? Like record music and have it on your iPod Nano or some shit?
Yeah, I mean, I put all my demos on my phone.
Yeah,
Things like all my ideas and stuff, like I'll put them right. I like to listen to them in the car, or like in
same.
the, on my lunch break at work. I like to have all that stuff. And I also, when you put things on your phone, I also consider that kind of backing things up,
Yeah.
because it's not just on your computer. But I've never actually just like had a collection, like a handful of demos where I thought, well, let's just put these out. I mean, I will re-record a song multiple times over until I'm happy with it. Yeah.
I'm kind of the opposite in that regard, and I wondered, is that because of the fact like you're writing these lyrics and you're writing out like what you're trying to define in the melodies? What kind of drives the track for you to make sure that you're getting a certain vibe?
Yeah. I, the lyrics are definitely a big part of it. Because I don't really start with singing, or putting like a melody or a harmony over the stuff, or just beginning with that. So yeah, when I like redo and redo and redo and redo, it's like I just kind of, I sit there and I think about, like, is there something that I don't like about this? If I can identify it, then I'll go back and I'll change it, or I'll try something different. And I will say that, like, with lyrics and stuff like that, it's really hard if I put down placeholder lyrics or a placeholder melody or something like that, and then do my demos using those. And then if I'm feeling like, oh, like I kind of don't like this lyrically, or I think this is too repetitive with the melody, it's really hard for me to scrap that idea and start again. It's hard for me to be like, I don't, like, I know this is wrong. I have to take it away and then try something different over it, because I've already got the old version in my head. And so that can be very tricky.
After I like skimmed through all the sounds and like all of the different patches you can create and all of the different stuff you can do with the recording and the EQ, there's a certain point for me where I'm like, I think I think I'm tapping out. Like I think that's it, or like I just will get lost changing every
Yeah.
single sound or like running through all of the sounds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Especially if I like at first off I'm smoking and I'm like trying to find the preset and I'm like okay
Yeah.
like in the first preset I clicked sounded great, then I click and change it, then I'm like okay I can make a whole other song out of that preset.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
so there's been moments I guess for me where I'm like I start making one song and end up finding my whole other song by like kind of tweaking and fixing.
Oh,
Has there,
absolutely.
yeah, has there been a track for you where you're like, I didn't intend for that track to come out that way, it just like it kept on shaping and forming into this?
Yeah. Yeah. I do have a couple like that. I mean, like I said, it's just like, if it doesn't sound right to me, I'll re-record it, and I'll re-record it. And sometimes, when you do that so many times over, like rebake it so many times, it becomes something pretty different. And not always in a good way for me, honestly. Like I've definitely, you know, you kind of get something, like maybe a result that you're not totally satisfied with. But um, there's something you gotta let go at some point. You gotta, like, I'm tweaking too much shit. Let's go back to this version. It's just, you're getting a little out of control with all this, different parameters and settings and things that you can start getting into. Um,
Yeah, I can definitely go with you on that one for sure. There's some moments of stripping tracks down again where you find out like why you like creating it in the first place too.
mhm.
I wanted to bring up another good point. Out of oh yeah, yeah, this one's important too. Actually, hold on. Are you working on any current projects right now?
Yes. So the the music I'm making for myself right now was kind of um I was pushing myself to put on a solo act because all of the things that I've made before moving to DC are basically things that I've only been like they're just like they're studio bound recordings. I can't replicate what I'm doing live because I can't like just hit the tape speed knob or switch on the tape machine on stage or something, you know. It would be really hard and I don't think I really want to try and replicate that stuff. So what I'm working on now is just getting to a point where I can perform my own songs live because in DC it's just like if you're a musician, like people, you know, want to usually hear what you're doing. And so I'm just trying to get out there and just trying to, you know, show people what I'm doing that I think is different. And then the other thing that I'm working on, which gets me even more excited than my own stuff, is just this band that I'm playing in Static Spray. We have a show coming up at Songbird, which is a pretty nice venue in DC, but we're opening for the Meridian Brothers, which is like a cumbia Latin group. And it's gonna be a fun time. So
I look forward to seeing the results. I'm not too sure if I'm going to be able to make it out of the whole
well, if you
situation.
can make it, I'll get you on the list,
Yeah, I better be on the list.
okay?
When, I wanted to also bring up, did you have any great memories that you'd like to share?
Great memories of any era, any time. Hmm. Well, my last birthday, I went to Stanton, Virginia, which is a very beautiful place. And we had passed through, me and my partner Colleen, we had passed through a couple times. But every time we go through there, it's just like, oh, we're on the way to somewhere else. So we can only look around for like 20 minutes. But finally, on my birthday, I got to, you know, actually take in the surroundings. And it was really beautiful. And I really enjoyed it. And thinking of another memory, there's this place in North Carolina uh, by Alexandria. Or no, not Alexandria. It's the place anyway. The place is called Blue Ridge Daylilies, and it's off Riverside Drive in Asheville. And there was one day we took my motorcycle out there, and we had like a drive all the way up to Riverside Drive, and we pull off, and there's this field of just daylilies, just like it's like a football field. It was crazy. And they had these massive trees and plants. The weather was perfect, and that's I don't know, maybe one of my favorite memories. Oh,
I also have another
yeah.
question. A favorite place that you go for vacation? That was just a fun one.
Yeah.
I have to say mine's Miami. I love Miami every time.
Oh, nice. I've never been there.
Oh, well, then you must go during the Art Basel time because it's like the most gnarliest time for South Beach lovers. And then also right down the Wynwood district is like bopping off with like all of the venues being like there's like always music, a lot of artists that they bring in, all of like the clubs and like little art spaces are like all targeted for artists to come there and play. So like there's a lot of I went whenever I went down there, I just went down there with the hopes I could just get in there and play, and that's exactly what happened.
Nice.
Yeah, I feel like if you go in the right time, you always find like your shot for sure. Have you actually traveled much?
Yeah, I've done a bit of traveling, and I've got some traveling to do pretty soon.
Where is
Going.
your favorite place that you've been to?
It's hard to say, but it could be Puerto Rico. Um,
My dad was born in Ponce, and so I got to see Puerto Rico for the first time a few years ago. And other than that, I really like Spain, um, specifically Granada and sort of the southern area of Spain. The Alpujarra is the desert out there, and I spent some time on a farm like way out there, and it was an incredible time. And then maybe third place is probably
Um, it's either Ireland or it's Morocco. Maybe it's both a tie. Morocco and Ireland are in a tie for three. Third.
I want to bring up another fact.
Sure.
In your tracks, you have a lot of different kinds of progressions and incorporations. Did you teach yourself your own music, or did you like get lessons? How did it all kind of happen for you?
Um, I think my progressions and things like that became more interesting. When I was in high school, I used to do the pit band for all the like theater productions at the end of the year. So one year it was like Elvis, All Shook Up. I did Guys and Dolls. I did Hairspray, and a couple other ones too. And that's when I kind of realized that, um, like I took all my sheet music after those productions because I'd like to, because there's so much like key changes and
in theater music and just like melodies follow the actual dialogue. And so I think like when I started looking at those books, I started changing the formula of songs and how I wanted things to go. And also like just yeah, I mean like I said earlier, Zappa is like a pretty big influence, and he obviously is all over the place too. So um,
Yeah, I just I like changing things in the middle of a thing.
Yeah, I really do like your switch ups, and I just kind of wondered where some of those inspirations come from, and like how, I don't know, the music aspect. I feel like just teach yourself. Also, with your gear, explain a little bit. Like, give like a favorite piece of yours that like is like your go-to to start working with.
um, Man, it's probably um, can I say two pieces of gear? Yeah. So I would say that the heart of it all is the Korg Electribe 2 drum machine. Um, it's not just a drum machine; it's actually a sequencer too, so you can kind of chain together different parts of the song. When I learned that technique, that was a big game changer because, like I said, like I want to be able to change things, and this thing you just kind of program, how many loops it's going to go here, and then it's going to go here, and then it's going to go here. Um, and you can have the different instrumentation come in with those changes as well. Um, and so that thing basically does everything. You could do full performances with that little piece of equipment, and you can do some really crazy stuff. I think they're kind of underrated little drum machines. Um, my buddy who's in Philly now, Andy Loebs, is he can do the craziest stuff on his Korg Electribe, and I think he still uses it to this day. But um, yeah, I love it. Um, yeah, I think the even the secondhand market for those I think is like gone up just a little bit. Um,
Alright, I got this thing off of Craigslist, and it came with an SP 304 or some
Mhm.
one of the boss samplers, with the electribe and this random thing. Whenever you played an instrument, it would pick up the notes and play along with you. All for like
Oh,
$500.
nice.
It was the steal of a lifetime, and
Yeah, that's insane.
I don't have a lick of those gear. Like, I don't have any of those pieces anymore.
Dang.
I recorded with it. I recorded with it for a good while, so like I have like an album's worth of it, but then I just like left it, moved
Yeah.
it on.
Um, the the second piece of gear that I really, really love is the it's a TC Helicon Voice Live 2, and that's what I use. Sorry. Yeah, the Voice Live 2, and it's like a big brick pedal, and like it seriously is. It's like 12 inches by 8 inches. It's a pretty big little unit. But I started looking at them going back to this band Polisa.
Okay.
The lead singer, I was listening to a Song Exploder episode where the guy that produces Polisa was talking about the lead singer using this piece of equipment, and he was like, when she started using that, it just kind of like really changed everything about the way she sang and approached her lyrics and things like that. And I was like, that's kind of interesting. And I'm not a super comfortable singer. Like I don't really have a super strong singing voice. I think it's serviceable, but when I got that, and since I was doing something really electronic, I thought having processed vocals might be a kind of interesting element. And I found one at a local music store, and I traded a piece of gear clean, just outright, no cash, just I'll give you this, you give me that. And it was in and out, and I took it home. And yeah, I would say that I agree with the sentiment that it kind of does change how you approach your singing and stuff. One thing I like to do is just, if I got a beat going and sort of like an instrumentation, and I'm trying to figure out the lyrics,
Yeah.
and the vocal track, I'll put on the auto tune, and I'll just
I love their
sing,
auto-tune.
hum shit, and then since the auto tune's gonna grab like weird pitches and things that you're not gonna, I can't think of personally on the fly. Like I don't think like a vocalist. It's really difficult for me to figure out vocal melodies. But using that as a tool to kind of navigate melodies and stuff, I'll use that on the front end, or I'll use like the harmonizer effect on the front end. And then when I find something that sounds cool, then I'll take that away, and then I'll try and sing what was the like the auto-tuned track. So you just you'll find like silly runs and things, vocal runs, and you try and replicate that, and it might not be exact, but you kind of get the creative sort of juices going. So it definitely helps jumpstart, I think, what my weakest ability is musically.
To shout out on TC Helicon, I do have a TC. It's a. Oh, I don't know if it's actually TC. It's Electro Harmonix. Is that TC Helicon?
Yeah.
All right, so
I think I don't know if they're the same brand, but
yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm really not good with gear, honestly.
I'm having half of their. This is also TC Helicon, but it's the Stereo Looper 720.
Cool.
That's been one of those ones where I can always, it has like a reverse on it, and like you can like mess with the speeds, and you can do that like live. So like as you have like all your sounds, you can like actually like mess with your actual like fast speed and low speed. Like it blows my mind what that thing does. Another thing about the TC Helicon, I have like one of those. I heard it was from the people that made Guitar Hero. They
What?
made the people from Guitar Hero. They made another piece of gear because Guitar Hero fucked them on their deal, or they lost all their money. They made another piece of equipment that was like for karaokeing. But the main thing about it was about transforming your voice on the karaoke machine. So it became more about all of the effects, and you could, and so I got one of those, whenever I was working at like Target or some shit, and it has like a bunch of different vocal effects on it, and you can plug two instruments into it. You can plug in like an MP3 into it, and also run two outputs from it. So
Whoa,
yeah, it's an incredible little doodad.
that's
um,
really sick.
yeah, it's a great find, and now they're a little pricey because those guys that made Guitar Hero, like they had to sell that company because their factory burned down with majority of those little effect pads, and I know that it's actually got was like produced or they got sponsored by Vox because on the back of it says Vox pedal.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's like pretty sick.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, if you haven't heard of that, I would definitely look into that because I've seen it on fucking Shark Tank before.
What?
Those guys are brilliant, I tell you. Those Guitar Hero
Okay.
guys.
Oh my God, Shark Tank.
Did you have any favorite video games growing up?
Oh yeah, a couple. Um,
Shout out.
okay, so Sonic 2 on the Sega Genesis. Such a fun game, hours and hours of entertainment out of that. Sorry? No, that was the Sega Genesis. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then Legend of Zelda Wind Waker on GameCube. I played that over and over and over again. I never wanted to stop playing that game. I thought it was so magical. And then there was a couple others on GameCube. The Simpsons Hit and Run. That game was amazing.
Yeah, that is a pretty fun one. And the aesthetic today still rules.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah, and then getting into like the next era of console, PlayStation 3 that I had. I played the hell out of Battlefield 1943. I thought it was really fun to fly the planes and stuff like that. And during quarantine I got I bought a PlayStation 4 just because people were just locked down, nothing was happening, and I was like, you know what, it'd be fun to have some video games. So I got a PlayStation 4, and I played a lot of Star Wars Battlefront. And yeah, I played the hell out of.
Did you check out that the Lego Star Wars redo?
No, I never checked that out actually.
Yeah, I'm interested in giving that a spin. I have a PS4 over at my parents now, but I don't play as much. But whenever it was locked down, I was tapped in. I was playing that Grand Theft Auto, Puerto Rico heist stuff.
Hell yeah!
That was a good ride. I'm still looking forward to some new games. Like I think I'll probably give Cyberpunk a spin again. Um, I wanted to bring up like the inspiration behind like the artwork for your covers. How did
Sure.
that happen?
Yeah, I'll start with the first one that I made, Awareness Welcomed. That's a photo of a weird postcard that I found in this abandoned house in North Carolina. Like growing up, my parents, specifically my mom, really was into like crawling into like abandoned places. And so sometimes this family outing would just be like, oh, like here's this old shitty house on the side of the highway, let's go in there and see what's up. Yeah, so that photo of like the weird, I don't know, it's like somebody hanging on to the back of somebody else. That was a photo I took on my phone, of something like the postcard on the wall. And then I put that into, my sister was starting the architecture program at Virginia Tech, and she gave me Adobe, whatever, Photoshop. Wow, blanked on Photoshop for a second, but she gave me a copy or like a version of Photoshop, and I just started looking at like tutorials on YouTube, and I kind of wanted to have like a scrambled sort of VHS sort of look on the cover, and that's how I got that. As far as the other ones go, I commissioned, there's a single I put out called Keep It Rolling, and I commissioned that one from my friend Clara Murray, who's living up in Philly right now, and she's done a lot of stuff for a few artists, notably Sufjan Stevens. She did some work on a music video for him with her animations. I can't remember if she did the whole thing, but she might have done the whole thing.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, she did that, and she just has like such an awesome style. And she works a lot with this other artist who's in California, Ember Knight. I think she's in California, but she's really all about like claymation, and her her style is just unbeatable. So I really shout out to Clara Murray.
Yeah, for making a really great album, bop off for you, or a cover, album cover, bop off for you.
Yeah, and the other ones, the other ones. So the Dirty Bits one, I got a 35 millimeter camera not too long ago, and you know, we were just always taking photos on it, me and Colleen, and that's just a photo of me in my kitchen, and obviously we didn't understand the lighting sort of thing with film is kind of important, so it turned out really dark, but when I kind of raised the brightness, it kind of gave this weird bright spot on the left, as I don't know if you're looking at it, but yeah, and then I made the font out of clay, and I just photoshopped the lettering out of it and put it over the album. And Immaculate Mustard, that single is another photo I took on the 35 millimeter camera. And yeah, and then the last one I did, Phone It In, is a photo that Colleen took of me, actually in Stanton, that place that I mentioned, like a vacation, like that I took, that good memory. Yeah, she took that it was like the building was like I think it was like from 1875 or something, and it was just free to walk in. It's an artist collective, and yeah, she was on the second floor, and the banister was like this cool beadboard wood that kind of wrapped around the whole lobby. And when I was sitting down on the furniture right below, she snapped this really cool picture. I just added the pink border and the font.
Also, are you a fan? Oh yeah. Also, are you a fan of weed? Smoking weed.
Yeah. I don't really smoke very much, actually. I used to smoke all the time when I was first recording and writing music. Back pre-college, I was smoking all the time. But it just seems to give me a lot of anxiety these days. I don't know if it's the right strand or whatever. But every time I smoke, I get a little weird. So I like to smoke and watch a movie or something like that. I love smoking and eating a dinner, actually. That's like one of my favorite things, but it kind of just makes my mind race every time I'll smoke, and I'll lay down for bed, and I'm like thinking about all this shit, and I kind of hate it. But yeah, I have a good relationship with weed for the most part. I like it. I have liked it for a long time, but I just don't do it very much anymore.
Did you have a favorite flavor? Do you have a favorite flavor or style? Sativa,
Oh man, no. I mean, I do a sativa if I have the option. Maybe that's probably what's like making my mind race, but I feel like the indicas kind of make me really sluggish, and I don't like the way that feels. And I feel like if I'm gonna smoke, like I want to be more stimulated than relaxed for some reason. So
Of course, that's my DLC right now, I guess, if that's how you want to put it. Uh, Another thing, did you want to mention any other bands or songs that I should be putting on the podcast?
Bands or songs? Oh, right. Yeah. There's this band that I really like in DC. They're called Close. And the band I'm in, Static Spray, played with them pretty recently. And they're really, really incredible. So I would recommend that if looking for some talent, some people to check out Close. And then there's this other DC group called Two Free. It's a duo. I know one member. His name is Awad. He's great. I'm actually maybe I get the pronouns wrong, but I would recommend you check out Two Free and Close. They're my two top favorite in DC at the moment.
Take two for two free. That's pretty clever. Also, are you a vinyl collector?
Only because my job has kind of led me into taking stuff from work when I am allowed to take things from work. One time they did a big purge of the library. I guess maybe I shouldn't talk about this honestly, but I got a few things from that event when that happened. It was just things that they had to get rid of them, So yeah, I mean, better than wasting it is, you can give them to your employees where they can enjoy them, and I guess that's exactly what I've done with them. So, I have a little, I would say a medium-sized vinyl collection, maybe 150 to 200 records.
Also,
Is that medium?
Yes. To put into perspective, to clarify for the listeners that are new, from how long have you been making music? How old are you, and how long have you been making music? I feel like is the best way to put that.
Yeah, I'm 28, and if you want to count when I got my first instrument and first started making music, I would say that I've been making music since I was 12.
More than half your life.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that you've been making the same songs to yourself personally, or do you actually feel like it's different? I just have heard from other artists that they feel like that they make the same stuff.
I think that I'm doing a pretty good job of changing things around when I want to. In the future, when I get enough tracks together of my solo stuff here, there's going to be a good blend of genres. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I know I have like my formulas and my methods and things, but I think I've done a good job of kind of making a sound that sounds like me, but also not being too locked into one sort of style. I think if you go back to Awareness Welcome, that first thing that I put out, there's some stuff going on. There's moments of where it sounds like hip hop, or moments where it sounds like ragged sort of jazz, rock jazz. There's stuff that sounds like Beefheart-esque, like avant-garde sort of stuff. Yeah, I try not to get too locked into one like genre, I'd say, if that answers the question, right?
No, it definitely does. Also, did you have any shows lined up? Anything planned for the next year or two?
Yeah, the only thing that I've got going on is this show at Songbird, January 11th
We
in
mentioned it, and
Washington D.C.
we gotta mention the fact that you do have this actual album coming out, right?
Yeah, I'm doing a soft announcement right here. I do have an album coming out.
All right.
Yes.
I thought so because out of the old peaks of from what I've seen on your pages. So um, with your stuff on Bandcamp, how do you feel about the whole pay for like what you can method? Like how do you feel about the Bandcamp structure? That's just a personal question for me.
Yeah, I think out of all the services, and I don't have any research on this, but out of all the services to kind of provide a platform for artists to kind of monetize their work, I think Bandcamp has done a pretty good job.
We lost him for a second, folks. Alright, so back to
Hey,
finishing up. I know I mentioned that we lost him, but back to finishing up with this thing about next. I mean, Bandcamp doing a decent job, a pretty good job. I do agree with you on this one because there's some bands out there that I'm amazed even bother to have a Bandcamp for what structure or what status they're on.
yes. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be hard for people. I mean, and if you think about like, you know, it making it like available for everybody to monetize their stuff. I mean, people can't, like I said earlier, people can't always afford vinyl, and vinyl people like producing vinyl can't always meet the demand of every artist that wants to have their stuff pressed. So having just like an avenue to do like this kind of transaction, and I hate that it has to be like transactional almost, but artists have to eat too, obviously. It's like, yeah, here's my stuff. If you like it, you can pay for it, or not. You can just listen to it. That's how I look at it. It's like you can throw me some money for it, or you can just enjoy it the way it is.
A big shout out to my Fred Fred of Smith Math, who put me out on the 4Jazz. He got his record, Smith Math and the Salesman, put on vinyl. And what he's been doing is going basically door to door salesman
Oh,
to
nice.
these record shops. And, we went out to Chicago for a show. And he cut a deal with every single record shop, like Reckless
No shit.
Records. Yeah, Reckless Records for one of
No
them. And
shit.
shout out, it was just like,
That's cool.
yeah,
I was born in Chicago. I love Chicago.
I'm a fan of it too. They have really great avenues for music, and they offer a lot to different communities and diversity for sure. I haven't been to too much of the music scene in DC. How would you rate their like acceptance for different live acts that are weird?
Okay, I'm gonna say something, and it's not hate on DC or the DC art scene, but I do. So I came up from Asheville and Durham before I moved to DC, and living in Asheville, especially, you would see some really incredible different things, experimental stuff, crazy duos doing like very specific sort of like satirical joke sort of things, but it's all music, and it was like you would just see a lot. And then also there was a good house show scene, so you'd get some cool bands that would come through and play basements or house shows or whatever. And I don't know if it's just because I'm 28 now and it's maybe harder to find the house shows, but I don't find the same kind of musical sort of juice in DC as I did in Asheville. Also, just a disclaimer: I haven't been in DC for very long, so maybe it's just I haven't gotten into the right circles that know where all these things are. But I will say that it seems like every band in DC currently that I know of is doing, the best of what they do, and it's everyone is trying their 100%, which I really, really appreciate. It's like, people don't mess around in DC. They want to be like, a really good band and put on really, really good performances. So you see that. I just wish that I could see more things that were experimental, or just like more genre bending kind of things. One thing and another reason why I was I've really been focusing on my solo stuff, is because I don't see anybody in DC ever bust out a synthesizer or a drum machine,
Exactly.
and I really want to see that kind of stuff. It kind of makes me really wonder, like, everybody in DC, like, you usually can only afford like your own little room in an apartment, like in a row house or something like that. So I wonder, where is like the electronic music scene? Because wouldn't it make sense that if you want to like create music in a room and not disturb your housemates or your neighbors or whatever, you think that you'd see more people grabbing synthesizers and making like electronic music. But I haven't quite found that or seen that in DC. And before I forget, I just want to shout out to my friend Ben Melrod, who is also the drummer in Static Spray, but he's been helping me with my solo stuff live by providing his electronic drums. And it's been sounding really good. So I wanted to say that before I forgot.
Yeah, that's definitely worth the mention. I agree with you on the certain scenes and pushback I feel on using, I guess what I want to say now is this new wave cross genre.
Mm-hmm.
Even with venues that are totally cool with like giving newer acts a try, it seems like if there's some sort of weirder element incorporating a synthesizer or beat machine, there's like less hesitant, unless like you're really having a backing of these other guys that are going to be also playing, that are kind of,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, giving you the real lead way of getting that opportunity.
Yes.
And even so, with the bands that are now becoming bigger or mainstream, they have to go to bigger venues to, like, in a way, work a business because of the fact, like, they incorporate other stuff in their music. And the way that they back it up, I guess, is the following or the listeners, or the fact that people would come in to see that because it is different. You just would think in more local live scenes, I guess everywhere, you would see a little bit more relaxed atmosphere whenever it came
Mm-hmm.
to other artists getting a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say,
There's some
just
stuff like
to,
that
just
in
to
Dayton
add a
that just
couple more
checks out.
things to that.
Yeah, for sure.
The DC, the music scene here is very accepting, and the community is very supportive. I like, nobody really is like shutting you out if you're doing something different. It's just you don't see a lot of different.
Bold stuff. I like to put it as dangerous.
Yes.
Another thing I'd like to mention, um, in today's world, like, what kind of media are you taking in? Like, do you watch the news? Do you still read newspapers? Are you still using your phone? Like, what kind of stuff do you use to, I guess, to stay relevant?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram, Facebook, but yeah, I get really sort of freaked out by the news these days. Just not like in a weird, like, I'm a conspiracy sort of guy. It's more of like, um I don't know. I'm just late stage capitalism. Everything, I don't know. It's like the doom scrolling sort of thing. It's like the what's the bad news today, sort of thing. And it's hard. It's really like I get stricken with just the anxiety of it all, and I hate being, I'm not ignorant to world events. I sometimes feel like I don't get, I feel like I'm not getting the news sources that don't have like a strongly imperialist agenda, unfortunately.
For
And
one example of this, I feel like is in Fox News, even how I feel like obviously right now we have a Democratic president who is
mhm,
getting a lot of pushback. We still have like Fox News that's kind of even, I want to say, sacrificing themselves to joke at aspects that are very real or like
mhm,
real world problems, but also kind of able to be charismatic in their way of exploiting or consistently running different ideas through people's minds, I guess, too, as far as
yes,
um, whenever the topics are being brought up, targeted one way or another, they're still there.
mhm,
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I just kind of wondered how you felt about it. Personally, and the whole situation right now in the world going through COVID and stuff, do you feel like the world is ever going to shift and change, or what's your perspective on this?
I like to say that I'm cautiously optimistic. I believe in people wanting progress and better things for the world. But I also recognize that we're kind of in a moment where things like technology are it's developing and accelerating faster than we can create um, legislation and safeguards to prevent people from exploiting us with that kind of stuff. So I'm definitely hinting on like the whole like AI artist sort of thing that's happening right now.
The
Just
pushback and lashing out, but one example, my friend Tommy, who's just I just recorded an interview with as well. He said it's like the AI thing has been here for a while, but now that it's
mhm,
here and exposed in the art world, it's like he said the toothpaste outside of the tube, and you're trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube. That's like you already squeezed all of it out.
mhm. Yeah,
Um,
that's a good analogy.
yeah, and I'm like, yeah, it's now, and now that it's here, the ways that we're adapting to it, and it's hilarious. Just like COVID times, it's like we're trying to find out if we're going to ignore it or live with it, fight back against
Hmm.
it,
Yeah.
shame it. One thing I like to bring up is like, yeah, in a way, we now have everything to help you do it yourself.
Hmm.
We now have ways to help you record your music at home, make podcasts at home, look up random stuff from YouTube to, fix things, whatever. The only, I feel like, progression that you see out of it is speculation of what is transitioning towards, I guess, making um, some sort of structure out of it or
Hmm. Yeah.
hierarchy, maybe. Um, what's kind of your own take on using technology and like this AI stuff? Like, how do you feel about it?
I think that it could be something that is used to help people, but the problem is that I think the people that have the capabilities of like developing it and putting out there are uber capitalists and oligarchs that have no interest in doing something that is actually going to help people. This is all about just like generating capital, and I think that's a big shame because I've heard different sides of the argument where it's like, oh, like sometimes I've used AI generators to help me with like my album art or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. I don't really have a problem with that. I have a problem with, the most recent thing was like, I can't remember what type of generator it uses, but basically the thing that was teaching the AI is, people's styles and works and their own signature things were fed into this AI machine to teach it how to make this kind of art that people have spent so much time and energy doing themselves. And now, it was taken without permission. It was taken without, people knowing about it until, hey, actually, it's been fed to your machine thousands of times. And now it's like, now it's out there. And I think that's a big shame. I think that there is, like I said, cautiously optimistic. I think there's a way that we can have both and, use it in a society in a good way. But we're starting off at this point where, Congress isn't going to put any safeguards up to kind of rein it in, unfortunately, and that's that. They just can't keep up with it.
I like to look at it as like they make this playground a lot bigger and a lot more expensive whenever we're talking in-app purchases.
Yeah.
Which is great for the people that are creating this to make money during this time, and like also the artists that are, I feel like the new wave artists that are spending time making the code for the apps, and different software companies having to like hire these people to just consistently work. It's pretty ridiculous on how that whole system does work, but at the same time, it's creating a backdoor industry for people to not have like your traditional lifestyle.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, I feel like in a lot of ways for sure, people are looking for that avenue, how to get out of that traditional thing ever since, I guess. Um, I feel like the pandemic closed some things up for them, or maybe opened up their mind. I don't know. It's a little bit of
Yeah.
both for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you been watching anything cool lately? Like any new TV shows or movies?
I started watching Law and Order SVU. I won't say that I think the show is very cool, but I find it entertaining. Like it's just like I kind of like got home one day and I was like, and it was like a cold day in DC, and I was like, I'm kind of in the mood for like a crime television show. And so we started watching that, and like the subject material is really really heavy, but I think it's a good watch.
I'm a really big fan of true crime. I'm a true crime junkie.
Nice.
I'm also a big fan of South Park. They have a big episode of where where they're like, if you watch that stuff, you're watching murder porn. What are you doing on there? You're watching that murder porn without me. Did you have any kind of like shows like if it was Adult Swim or like whatever? Did you have like any shows growing up where you're like that's like part of my culture or anything like that for you?
Oh, I don't know, maybe Simpsons. Yeah,
I'm
because
with us
my
for
dad
time.
used to like bootleg lots of episodes of The Simpsons marathons on little VHSs. And so when I was growing up, that was a lot of what I watched.
Yeah, I'm still a big fan of the VHS, and I used to also do the whole thing like binge VHS recording of whatever I could like get on Adult Swim or like Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, or like my parents, they had like all the TV. They were like recording movies, HBO and like Showtime as far as where they had it. And did you kind of go through that phase of recording your own shows on VHS?
No, I never really got into, because I think I think, yeah, I never really got into it myself, like recording. Like I was never doing the recording. It was always my dad. And I feel like by the time, I don't know, I was old enough to maybe understand how to record stuff on a VHS player. We had already gotten rid of it, and we were on like TiVo or
You're
something.
already onto the TiVo and DVD.
Yeah,
You gave it up.
yeah, yeah,
Man, I was not giving up the VHS. I was like, we got all these nice VHSs, and like, I won't keep all of them. I'll put them in my room. I'll keep the VHS player. All right. I guess my phone is about to die on us. I'm sorry about that, but
all good.
thank you truly for joining Vibe Osmosis. It's been a good chat. And any last shout outs that you'd like to make before we end up the show?
Yeah, I thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it. It was like such an interesting interview. But I remembered another DC artist that if you want to interview, you should. Their artist name is Sonic Eddie, and yeah, I saw Sonic Eddie perform not too long ago, and I thought it was really an excellent show. Yeah, for sure. I'll share tips or anything else you want to know anytime you want to hear about it. Okay, for sure. Thank you so much. Okay, yeah, you too. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. All right, bye.